We all cheered when a traumatized little girl baked two human beings into a meat pie, fed them to their father, and smiled as he choked on his own blood. We bought the merchandise. We celebrated the ultimate underdog story of a victim reclaiming her power. But what if we were completely blind to what was actually happening on screen? We watched Arya Stark's bloody path of revenge with a sense of absolute triumph. We believed we were witnessing a heroic coming-of-age journey wrapped in fantasy. But take a step back today. Look past the perfectly choreographed sword fights, the face-changing magic, and the deeply satisfying revenge kills. Look at the chilling, clinical reality of what actually happened to this child. Today, we are not celebrating Arya Stark's transformation. We are diagnosing it. We are shining a glaring spotlight on the entity who engineered her descent into darkness, Jaqen H'ghar. Because when you strip away the fantasy elements and analyze his methods through the lens of modern psychology, Jaqen is not a mysterious, cool mentor. He is a textbook cult recruiter. He found a shattered, highly vulnerable child suffering from severe post-traumatic stress disorder and systematically dismantled her remaining humanity to forge a weapon of mass death. To comprehend the absolute horror of Jaqen H'ghar's project, you have to start by diagnosing the mind of the target he selected. When Jaqen first truly observes Arya, she is traveling the King's Road disguised as an orphan boy. Look at her reality in that exact moment. She is a prepubescent child who just stood in a screaming crowd and watched her father, her absolute moral compass, the man who defined honor for the entire North, be publicly decapitated. Her family is slaughtered, her home is burning, and she is surviving entirely on the adrenaline of a constant fight-or-flight response. In real-world clinical terms, Arya is experiencing profound dissociation and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Think about the list she whispers every night before she goes to sleep. Joffrey, Cersei, Ilyn Payne, the Hound. We thought it was badass, but psychologically, that list is not a prayer. It is a trauma-induced coping mechanism. When a child is violently stripped of all power and safety, the brain desperately tries to regain a sense of control. Repeating those names is the only thing keeping her tethered to sanity. It is her anchor. Enter Jaqen H'ghar. Consider the sheer, unbelievable impossibility of his situation. We are led to believe that a faceless man, one of the most elite, magically gifted, and lethal assassins in the known world, a phantom who can change his face and vanish into thin air, was somehow caught by average city guards and thrown into a dirty cage with common street thugs. Does that make any logical sense? Of course not. Jaqen was never caught. He was exactly where he wanted to be. He was hunting. And in the dirt, blood, and chaos of the Riverlands, he found the perfect raw material, a broken girl from a powerful bloodline with a bottomless, unguided capacity for violence. The grooming begins at Harrenhal. When Jaqen finally makes his move, he does not offer her comfort. He does not offer her a safe passage home. He offers her power, the power over life and death. He tells her she saved 3 lives, so the Red God is owed 3 lives, and she gets to choose them. This is classic psychological conditioning. In the real world, when predatory cults or extremist groups target a powerless victim, the very first thing they do is give them a taste of absolute, intoxicating empowerment. Jaqen shows a helpless child that the world does not run on honor or justice or the noble lies that got her father killed. It runs on death. And for a brief, addictive moment, he makes her the god of death. Once he has her hooked, he gives her the iron coin. This coin is not just a physical ticket to Braavos, it is a psychological tether. Cult recruiters always leave a lifeline. They isolate the victim from their current reality and offer a promise of a place where they will finally belong, where their pain will be understood and utilized. For a girl who has lost her entire family, Jaqen offers a replacement, the House of Black and White. When Arya finally arrives in Braavos, the true horror of her indoctrination begins. We watched the training montages and thought she was learning ninja skills. Look at the actual clinical process. What is the very first thing they force her to do? Throw away her clothes, throw away her silver, her possessions, everything that connects her to her past. She hides her sword, needle, under the rocks, a desperate, childish attempt to hold on to her Stark identity, but the intent of the institution is crystal clear. In the real world, this is the exact first step of radical indoctrination used by extremist cults and military black sites. It is called identity stripping. You remove the subject's clothing, you isolate them from their support system, and you strictly forbid them from using their real name. "Who are you?" Jaqen asks her, over and over again, while she is physically beaten with a stick by the waif. "Arya Stark." A brutal strike to the face. A girl lies. He is not teaching her how to act undercover. He is physically and psychologically beating her ego into total submission. He is demanding the complete ego death of Arya Stark. He wants to hollow her out, to scoop out all the love, the grief, and the memories, until there is absolutely nothing left but an empty, obedient vessel. You have to realize, the Faceless Men are not a guild of highly paid hitmen. They are an apocalyptic death cult. They worship the many-faced God, which represents the absolute end of all things. To serve this God, you cannot harbor desires, you cannot possess a moral compass, and you certainly cannot hold a personal kill list. You must be no one, a mindless tool that is picked up, used to end a life, and placed back in the dark. But here is the brilliant, terrifying manipulation of Jaqen H'ghar. He knows Arya is too stubborn, her northern blood too thick, to just surrender her list willingly. So he weaponizes her trauma against her. When she breaks the rules and kills Sir Trant for personal revenge, Jaqen does not just punish her, he blinds her. Sensory deprivation is the ultimate psychological torture. It has been documented in real-world brainwashing programs like MK Ultra. By taking away her sight, Jaqen breaks her down in the absolute, terrifying darkness of her own mind. He makes her so desperate, so entirely dependent on him and the waif for her basic physical survival, that she will accept any reality they hand her. He shatters the child to rebuild the assassin. We often compare the Faceless Men to the historical Hashashin, the medieval order of assassins, but the Hashashin were deeply political. They killed specific targets to shift power dynamics, to protect their borders, to negotiate without armies. The Faceless Men operate on a far darker, nihilistic axis. They kill because death itself is a sacrament. They charge exorbitant prices for their assassinations, sometimes demanding 2/3 of a merchant's wealth, or a mother's only child not to stockpile gold, but because the agonizing sacrifice proves the devotion of the person ordering the hit. Life pays for life. Jaqen H'ghar does not just want to teach Arya how to fight in the dark or wear dead people's faces. He wants to sever her soul from her body. He wants to take a fiercely loyal, loving child of Winterfell and warp her into a sociopathic instrument of a foreign god. This brings us to the climax of her arc in Braavos. When Arya finally kills the waif, cuts off her face, and bleeds it onto the pillars of the hall, Jaqen looks at her and smiles. Finally, a girl is no one. Arya replies, "A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and I am going home." For years, the fandom viewed this as her triumphant rejection of the cult. The heroic music swells, she turns her back on him, and she reclaims her identity. But look closely at Jaqen's face in that exact moment. He smirks, a genuine, deeply satisfied smirk. Why is he smiling? Because he lost his prize student? No, because he won. Jaqen H'ghar didn't need Arya to stay in Braavos and wash dead bodies for the rest of her life. He needed to weaponize her. Arya may have kept her name, but she completely and utterly adopted their methodology. Look at her actions when she returns to Westeros. She does not return as a Stark. She returns as a highly trained, deeply traumatized serial killer. Look at what she does to House Frey. She slaughters 2 men, carves them up, bakes their bodies into a meat pie, feeds them to their father Walder Frey, slits his throat, and then days later, mass poisons the entire family while wearing a dead man's face, smiling a cold, dead smile as she watches dozens of men choke on their own blood. Think about her father. Eddard Stark lived by a strict, unyielding code. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. He believed that taking a life should be a solemn, heavy burden, never to be enjoyed. He would have been horrified by his daughter. Jon Snow would have been sickened. This is not northern justice. This is absolute, unhinged, psychopathic butchery. Jaqen took a broken, grieving girl, validated her darkest, most violent impulses, taught her how to detach herself entirely from human empathy, and unleashed her back into Westeros as a weapon of mass death. She became the angel of death that the many-faced god required. Arya kept her name, but she lost her soul. The cult always gets what it wants.